Hi, everyone. Let's wrap up Numbers. So, I'm Pastor Sarah Stobie, and we are continuing our journey through the Bible through our Biblical Lit Challenge. This is week 7, and week 7 is all about the numbers. Actually, it's not that bad, is it? It's more story based, and it has a lot more detail about the people of Israel and what they are going through. And there's actually a lot of detail in this. Our readings this week, week 7, are Numbers chapter 12 through Numbers chapter 33. But I'm going to actually ask you to go through 36. So I know the guide doesn't say that, but this vlog will go through Numbers 36, which is the end of the book. And I'll explain that why in just a minute. But there's just too much to cover here. And this time I'm only going to touch one theme, one story that shows up in Numbers 27 and then again in Numbers 36. And then I'm going to have you flip ahead and go to the book of Joshua. But just bear with me for a second. So if you will, go ahead and open your Bible. And if you have not already done so, how about you read the chapter 27 of Numbers, the 27th chapter of Numbers. And it's in my Bible called the Daughters of Zelophehad. Now, I'm just going to say the Daughters of Z from here on out, just simply to make it easier. This is an interesting story. First, this story seems to indicate that God gives women the ability to hold property. Now, it's an interesting thing. This chapter 27 has this story about the daughters of Z, and then it talks about Joshua being appointed as Moses' successor. So remember that Joshua is here. Joshua is witnessing all of this. Joshua is an integral part of Moses's leadership, if you will. So here we are, chapter 27, the daughters of Z. And what happens is the daughters of Z come forward, and they are descended from the line of Joseph. Now, you may recall from our readings that when Joseph died, Joseph had 2 sons, which, Jacob had blessed. And these 2 sons are actually who become part of those 12 tribes of Israel. Simeon and Levi, as you recall, are taken out of that 12 tribe count. Levi is made into the Levitical priesthood. We've talked about that enough. And so the 2 sons of Joseph are actually given the same standing as sons of Jacob. And Manasseh is one of the sons, and these daughters are descended from his line, from that tribe, if you will. And they come forward to the tent of meeting, and they stand at the tent of meeting because they can't go inside. They're women. And they're also unmarried. And they stand in front of Moses, Eleazar, the priest, the leaders, and all the congregation, meaning all those present in Israel. And they said, "Our father died in the wilderness. He was not among the company of those who gathered themselves together against the Lord in the company of Korah, but died for his own sin. And he had no sons. Why should the name of our father be taken away from his clan because he had no son? Give to us a possession among our father's brothers." Ooh, so what they're asking here, my friends, is they're asking for inheritance. They are unmarried. Their father died. There's actually quite a few of them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 daughters here standing in front of Moses. And they must be of old enough age that they could be married, but yet they have not been married yet, maybe because their father died and hadn't done the bartering, if you will. And it's very, very strange for them to have this assertiveness in front of Moses to say, hey, our dad died, but he was not one of the bad ones. And we have no inheritance because of his death. And they basically say, give us our inheritance. Give us what should be ours. Now, because there's no sons, this causes complications for these 5 daughters. It causes complications because, as we've talked about a lot before, who takes care of the women? Well, it's the men. And who takes care of the women after they no longer can have babies? Well, hopefully they've had sons who then can take care of their mothers in their mother's old age. And this is just the reality. This is just literally the reality of women during this time in the wilderness. But yet here we have this story of these 5 daughters standing up on their own and basically saying, give us what is ours. And Moses brought their case before the Lord. It said, the Lord spoke to Moses saying, the daughters of Z are right in what they are saying. You shall indeed let them possess an inheritance among their father's brothers and pass the inheritance of their father on to them. You shall also say to the Israelites, if a man dies and has no son, then you shall pass his inheritance on to his daughter. If he has no daughter, then you shall give his inheritance to his brothers. If he has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to his fathers. It kind of goes on a little bit there. But what's really revolutionary is God says if a man has enough to give as an inheritance, even if it's just a tenth, that can be passed on to the daughter if there is no son to collect. Okay, now this seems wonderful. This seems revolutionary. This seems like, wow, this is a breakthrough. The people of Israel, they understand that women are equal to men, right? No, that's not what happens. So the reason why we're reading more of the book of Numbers is because go to chapter 36, if you will, right now. And I know that this was not in our reading guide, but you'll get there in the next day or two. And the last chapter of the book of Numbers are about these daughters of Z. Because guess what? What God commanded, Moses didn't do. Now, that might not be a surprise to you because during the book of Numbers, we see Moses's temper coming out a little bit more. We see Moses manipulating God sometimes, and we're kind of thinking, why does God allow this? And we also see Moses lose his temper with God, and because of that, God says, you're not going to see the promised land. And now here we have, in our last chapter of the book of Numbers, we have these daughters coming forward again, and they're angry. They're angry because they were not given the land that they were promised, the inheritance that they were promised. And so it says literally here in verse 2 of chapter 36, they said, the Lord commanded my Lord, Moses, Lord commanded my Lord to give the land for inheritance by lot to the Israelites. And my Lord was commanded by the Lord to give the inheritance of our brother Zelophehad to his daughters. But if they are married into another Israelite tribe, then their inheritance will be taken from the inheritance of our ancestors and added to the inheritance of the tribe into which they marry. So it will be taken away from the allotted portion of our inheritance. And when the Jubilee of the Israelites comes, then their inheritance will be added to the inheritance of the tribe into which they are married, and their inheritance will be taken from the inheritance of our ancestral tribe. Okay, what happened here? What happened here is that the women, they did not get what they were supposed to get, and suddenly it's getting close to that promised land time, and everyone's talking about what's going to happen on the other side of the fence, if you will. And the relatives of these women come forward with them to Moses, and they pose this argument that I just read to you. They basically say, if these women are given the inheritance, which they have not been given to yet, but if they are given the inheritance, then our tribe will lose this inheritance because when it goes with them, it goes to the tribe that they marry into. Because that did happen. People did marry sometimes outside of their tribe. That did happen. However, it was pretty rare. It was pretty rare because the tribes tried to keep together as much as they could. But in this case, they're just not taking any chances. These 5 women now could go find another husband, and with them goes the inheritance that they have not received yet, but it's been promised. Are you with me? I know, it's like a soap opera. It's wonderful, isn't it? So verse 5, Moses commanded the Israelites according to the word of the Lord, saying, the descendants of the tribe of Joseph are right in what they are saying. So this is what the Lord commands now concerning the daughters of Z. Let them marry whom they think best. Only it must be into a clan of their father's tribe that they are married. So this is a double-edged sword. It sounds like God is giving these 5 daughters of Z a lot of control. And in one way, God is. But on the other side of that sword, God is not. God is saying to them, you may choose who you want to marry, which, whoa, that is huge. That is huge. But you have to choose it within the tribe of your father's family. So the pool has now gotten smaller. So they can choose who they want, which is huge, but it's got to be within their tribe. And again, the whole thing is because the women come with the promise of the inheritance. And so that basically says, you know, whenever this happens, a woman should marry within the tribe of her father. So that way, again, whatever inheritance she has stays within the tribe. Now, again, this sounds progressive, right? First, we got God saying they get the inheritance. And then we've got God saying, okay, you're right. If it gets out of the tribe, that dilutes the wealth of the tribe. So ladies, you can marry whoever you want, but you have to be married within the tribe. And then it says that the daughters said, okay. The daughters agreed. Verse 10, the daughters of Z did as the Lord had commanded. Malha, Tirzah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Noah, the daughters of Z, married sons of their father's brothers. They were married into the clans of the descendants of Manasseh, son of Joseph, and their inheritance remained in the tribe of their father's clans. They did what they were supposed to do. Sounds good. Sounds all right. Sounds like everybody got what they wanted. The 5 daughters got inheritance. I don't see it that way. I see that what happened was they got married in the tribe of their family, and now their husbands have the inheritance. But okay, we won't split hairs. But to me, this is not feminist theology per se, because the women have been treated again as property and chattel, and they still have to get married, and they still have to be in the father's tribe to keep the father's land. And yeah. Now, why do I want you to go to Joshua? The reason I want you to go to Joshua is because sometimes what we read in the Bible and God commands, the people of God still do not do. Even though God, again, did those first 10 commandments and said, hey, I want you to do this. Nope, they still couldn't do it. So what happens? We get all these other commandments because God's people, the Israelites, they just simply couldn't do what they were supposed to do. Here we have another example. 5 young women standing up saying, we declare ourselves. We need this. God saying, yes, you do. And then God retooling it. And then comes Joshua. Now, if you are able, please go with me to Joshua 17. And if you go to the chapter 17 in Joshua, this is long after Joshua has now conquered the lands. And now Joshua is getting to the point where Joshua is literally sitting down and saying, you get this, you get this, you get this, you get this. Guess what? Those daughters didn't get the land. Neither did their husbands. So the tribe didn't get the land. And so you'll see that they're named again. Chapter 17, verse 3. Now Z, son of Hefer, son of Gilead, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, had no sons, but only daughters. And these are the names of his daughters. And there they are again. Machlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. And they came before the priest of Eleazar and Joshua, son of Nun, and the leaders, and said, the Lord commanded Moses to give us an inheritance along with our male kin. So, according to the commandment of the Lord, Joshua gave them an inheritance among the kinsmen of their father. Thus there fell to Manasseh 10 portions, because the land of Gilead and Bashan, which is on the other side of the Jordan, because of the daughters of Manasseh, received an inheritance along with his sons. The land of Gilead was allotted to the rest of the Manassites. Joshua did it. Joshua heard the women. Probably this is the 3rd time Joshua heard the women, because Joshua was very close with Moses. Joshua walked with Moses. He was basically Moses' assistant. And then when Moses died, Joshua from God receives the mantle of leadership. We'll get there eventually, where God basically tells Joshua, go and conquer and take control of the land that I have given to you. You have to fight it for it. You have to earn it, but it's yours. So go get it. And Joshua had no doubt. Joshua did not question God. In fact, Joshua is so single-minded that you almost think that he's a superhuman being, because he's so single-minded in his purpose and his faith. His faith in God never falters. So for the third time, these 5 daughters now come and they say, where's our inheritance? Where's our inheritance? We were supposed to get it. We did what we were supposed to do. We married these 5 guys from our tribe, but we still don't have it. And Joshua doesn't argue with them. Joshua just gives it to them. For me, Moses has never been my favorite character in the Old Testament. For me, I have to be honest, I love Joshua. I love Joshua because Joshua does what God commands. And even maybe at times Joshua in his heart might have wondered, why? What are we doing this for? Or I'm concerned about this, Lord, or whatever. At the end of the day, Joshua does what God commands. And for me, I find that to be inspiring. For me, I find that to be something I can aspire to do, because I argue with God a lot. I'm more Moses than I am Joshua. I'm more losing my temper. I'm more getting upset with the people around me. I'm more arguing with God, maybe even trying to manipulate God. But then there's Joshua, who does none of those things. So Joshua is more feminist, if you will, than Moses ever was. And I do believe that. I really do. And I think that this story proves that. I also think that this story proves to us that change does not come easily, and it doesn't come necessarily quickly. Even when everyone around you has been told something that they are to do, it takes a long time for change to happen, even when they know it's probably what God wants them to do anyway. So I hope you enjoy this journey through Numbers. Next week, we begin Deuteronomy. That's going to be our last book of the Torah, and it's going to have a lot of repetition, and I know that, and so go ahead and you can skim through it a little bit more easily than Leviticus, I'm sure. But there's a lot of goodness in Deuteronomy, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you. And I hope and pray that you all are doing well, and thank you for joining me on this journey. And I think that as we continue to go on, we're going to see more stories of faith and strength and determination. And maybe we can also remember the determination of these 5 daughters and what they had to do in order to get what God did promise them. Take care, and many blessings to you and your loved ones. Bye-bye.